Yo, what is up, guys? It's Talon, and today we're going to be talking about how we got Sovereign on 5 roles on 5 different accounts, all in solo queue in one singular season. And so initially, I'm going to go through all of the stats of every account with you guys, and then we're going to go into the game that got me Sovereign, and I'm going to just be talking about kind of the journey for each role and the things I learned, especially for each role. So if we look first here, we can see this is my top lane account. So for top lane, we'll go to the stats here. We had 62.7% win rate. You can see these are the champion stats. And yeah, basically this is kind of the top lane stuff. Again, you can pause if you want to see more details, but then we'll go on to the next account. And so the support account here, you can see we have, again, 100 marks here. Obviously, every account is 100 marks because I hit Sovereign. Some of them have decayed at this point, but they all got it within the season. As you can see, these are the stats, and that's everything there. And then we'll go to the next account as well. So here is mid lane, as you can see as well, played mostly Syndra and Orianna. Again, I'm going to talk a lot more in detail about these types of things once we get into the gameplay, but for now I'm just showing you guys all the stats here. Those are the main things. You can see I kind of one-tricked a lot of champions here, but then again, we'll go on to the next role. So this is, of course, my jungle account, as you can see here. And then, yeah, again, the stats, you know, everything. You can see roughly like 60 to 70% win rate was about the norm. And then the final account as well is my ADC account, which was the highest win rate overall. There, as you can see, a lot of Xayah games, a lot of quirky games. Overall, very high win rate on both those champions. So yeah, now we're just going to get into the gameplay and go over basically how I managed to do this. And then real quick, guys, before we go into the rest of the video, I would appreciate if you liked the video. I definitely put a lot of effort into climbing this season. Literally played, I think, over 1,300 games or something. So I normally don't really ask for likes, but if you could, I would really, really appreciate it. But yeah, let's get into the rest of the video. Okay, so for this video, you're going to be seeing the game that got me my final account to Sovereign. We'll have a top lane specific video later, but for now, this is going to be very general. So initially, I'm going to talk about all the general things, and I'm going to go through each role and sort of just give you guys a brief rundown on what it was that I really learned for each role. So initially, the really big things that allowed me to climb, the first thing is definitely going to be having a small champion pool. Funnily enough, you see me playing Volibear. This was the only Volibear game I played because Warwick was taken, who was a top laner I played a lot. Jace sucks into Nasus, and Fiora was banned. So kind of a lot of the champions I would normally play weren't available, so I ended up locking in Volibear here. But most of the time, I would pretty much play 2 to 3 champions per role per account. Some accounts, like the Thresh account, was just a Thresh account, basically. So having a small champion pool just gives you a much better time climbing because you have to learn less things overall. You can learn the matchups a lot better. You can learn your champion within the context of many different games, just a lot easier. The next thing was having good mental. So like I was muted during part of these games because I was, you know, a little frustrated, and whenever I get frustrated, I just start muting, make sure I'm, you know, just focused on the game, not blaming my teammates too much, just focusing on doing whatever I can do better rather than focusing on other people. As long as you're having good mental in your games, it just makes it a lot easier, you know, not trolling, not getting down when someone does something, you know, dumb. Like I've won games with AFKs. I've won games with people troll picking, with people intentionally. Like I had a mid lane game, I remember a teammate, because I didn't want to remake, literally ran it down my lane the entire game, feeding kills, and we still won. Like these types of things, just having good mental, not caring about the trolls, is really what allows me to get, you know, so efficient when it comes to climbing. Then just like an actual game thing is going to be understanding win conditions. So again, understanding how my champion works. So for example, a Volibear game, like my goal is to have Prio and become a menace in this game, because if I get MR, nobody can kill me on the enemy team. If I get MR plus Bramble Vest plus Heartsteel, they're not going to ever be able to really kill me. And so having that constant prio and just playing the scale in a game like this, even though Volibear is usually considered an early game champion, is super, super important. Just having that understanding of how your champion works within the context of every game again. Just thinking about, again, what actually progresses me towards winning a game. Obviously, I have a lot more videos on my channel where I talk a lot more specifically about this. This is, of course, very general, but that is extremely important. Jungle tracking. So I have very specific videos on jungle timers if you guys want to know, but typically jungle finishes their full clear around 2 minutes. They go back to the side they started at 2:30. They go back to the other side around 3:45, and then finally at 5 minutes, they'll go back to the original side. That's going to be the rough thing you need to understand. Those timers aren't exact for every game and every champion, but they're rough timers to understand when the enemy jungle is going to gank you, be on your side of the map, be on the other side of the map, and just basing your gameplay based around jungle pathing, because the game does revolve around jungle for the most part. And then just the last thing is just consistency. Play a similar way every time, do similar things, understand again how you want to play. Do you want to play a carry centric style? Do you want to play a pushing and roaming style? Do you want to play for your teammates, you want to play for yourself. Like, just understanding how your champion, how you want to play, and doing that every time, making the consistent play, valuing the gold over a random fight, pushing your wave before you fighting, farming your jungle camps before you're fighting. Like, these are the things, the fundamental things that really matter at the end of the day. So again, having a small champ pool, good mental, understanding your champion and your overall win condition, jungle tracking, and then just consistency. If you have those things, like, that is really what allowed me to climb at the end of the day. But now I'm going to go through each rule and again just kind of explain to you guys how I did it. Like I said, we'll have more detailed videos on climbing and on basically all the tips I can give you guys, but for now we're just going to do this. So for top lane, basically I played initially Fiora and Gnar, like for the up until Grandmaster something, pretty much just Fiora and Gnar. I was not having a lot of success with Gnar, so then I went to Jason Fiora, and then I played Jason Fiora up until Challenger, where then I picked up mostly Warwick to Sovereign, because Warwick is just a very consistent champion, where my strategy with Warwick was pretty much always have prio, always be able to win lane, because the champion wins lane against almost everyone, and just constantly be able to impact fights. When a game's going bad and my team's doing bad, I would be able to roam towards them a lot more, whereas, again, with someone like Jace or Fiora, I had to stay a lot more on the side lane, so I largely kind of played around that. Then for some jungle, or for some top lane specific tips, so that jungle tracking is super, super important, specifically for top lane, with how you manage your wave. So, for example, if my jungle is coming towards me, I want to build up a really slow push. I have a full wave management guide if you guys want to know what I'm talking about in terms of terminology. But build up a slow push, make sure I crash the wave on the time that I'm hitting level 5. And then use that to find a dive when my jungler is pathing towards me, or when the enemy jungle is pathing towards me. I make sure that I crash the wave around 130, 140. That way I can recall on the timer they would normally want to gank me on. So it's not about just keeping your wave under your turret, because if you keep your wave under your turret, they can dive you. But it's about crashing the wave on the proper timer in order to, of course, again, not be gankable, and then I get back with, better items. For example, finding a recall on your boots usually is a good thing. Those types of things. So find a recall around boots, especially if your jungle's not pathing towards you. Kind of use that to your advantage. So those were some really big like wave management things overall. And then using prio to make plays. So if I am in a game where I'm getting stonewalled, meaning like the enemy top laner is just constantly sitting under his turret, then I do actually what you see me doing right now on your screen, is I push the wave and then I go somewhere else. Like, I might as well be somewhere else while he's stuck clearing a wave under his turret, get more value, and then once I draw him to me, then I can go back. Like, you see, I draw his TP out, I draw people to me, then I get to find a recall, or I get to do something else. So just constantly finding these angles to move people across the map by using prio, which is basically, again, having your wave push is basically what prio is. Using that to make plays across the map is very, very beneficial, and overall something you need to understand in top lane, especially as a champion like Volibear, like Warwick. If you're a champion like Jace or Fiora, you're more so focused on your own individual lane. But that's definitely an important thing to understand. And then finally is just a matchup knowledge. Just think about how your champion's abilities interact with the enemy champion. It sounds really simple, but it can actually be quite complicated. So for example, take into account if they have TP or Ignite. If they have TP, they're a lot easier to all in. If they have Ignite, obviously you got to be very wary of potentially getting killed yourself, because they have, that spell that can actually stop your healing and bring you down, a lot lower. Understanding, okay, maybe I can use my Fiora W specifically to block, whatever CC ability I need to block against the enemy. And if I block that spell, then I win. But if I don't block that spell, I lose. And understanding, again, just those types of things, which comes from understanding your champion very well, that is really what you need to understand for top lane. So then going on to jungle. So again, we played mostly Vi and Warwick, with some Wukong, especially earlier on in the push, but mostly Vi and Warwick. So basically, efficiency is the name of the game when it comes to jungle. If you're playing jungle, as long as you are farming your camps as they come up, for the most part, you're going to be good. So the timer is typically going to go, okay, I'm going to full clear. My full clear will take me about 2 minutes, a little less, a little more, probably a little less than 2 minutes, like 150, depending on your champion. Then, okay, we full clear, we go scuttle. Whatever scuttle, if the scuttle is up, I take that scuttle. If the scuttle is not up, I recall and I go to the other scuttle. Of course, some games the enemy might try to double scuttle you, but it's fine, because then they're going to be inefficient. I have more videos again on this and coachings and jungle stuff, whatever. But that's fine if they try to double scuttle you. It's not a big deal. You full clear, you grab the scuttle. If the scuttle's not up, you go other scuttle after you recall. That's simple. Then you use the windows between your jungle camps being, spawning to gank. So after you do your full clear and scuttle, you have about 30 seconds until you hit the 230 mark when you need to go back to the side you started on. So you can do whatever you want with that time. You can just recall and spend your gold if you see nothing else to do. If you do see something to do, you go and you gank them. It's about that simple. Again, the jungle tracking stuff we always mention is always important for taking into account, the decision making and what you're going to do in a specific scenario. But essentially it's that. Then it's, again, the 345 is when your next camps. And basically when your camps are coming, you farm them. That is the gist of it. And then occasionally if you understand, okay, but in this situation, the enemy jungle, I know he's not coming, and I know that my teammates have a big wave stacked up, and my teammates are higher health, and they're also snowballing champions, and they have good CC, well then maybe in that case, you can skip a camp or two, but only if you see that you can get a really big benefit, and that benefit is very likely to work out, again, like in the scenario I just described. And then, yeah, just looking at the wave states for ganks, again, if you understand lanes, you can understand what's gankable, again, with the stacked wave, for example, or if the enemy are pushing under the turret. These types of things can make it more likely for the gank to work. And then for deciding pathing early game, one of the most important things is deciding who you're going to path to early game. So you want to path to, or depending on which side you start, determines who you're pathing to. So if you start on the bottom side, you're pathing towards the top side because you're going to do your full bottom side, then your full top side. And this is going to be important if you want to path towards the top side. Whereas if you want to go towards the bottom side, you start on your blue buff, for example, then you go towards the bottom side. The way you decide this is basically based on a couple of factors. So the first is going to be the lane strength. Typically go towards your stronger laner because they're more likely to work out. Pretty simple, right? We go to a stronger laner, we can snowball with them. Secondly, understanding volatility. So how likely is it that they fight? So for example, even if you have a winning Ezreal Karma into, let's say, Vayne and Yuumi, there's all enchanters there and there's very little CC. So it's not as likely that they fight a lot. So even though, yes, you might want to path towards them because they're a strong lane, they have less volatility, which is an additional factor to take into account. Whereas a Set and a Darius, they're going to fight a lot. They might not be the easiest to gank ever, but they're going to fight a lot. And maybe your Darius is going to be losing that matchup. I don't know. I don't actually know that matchup that well. But again, you have that volatility. You know there's going to be a lot of fighting, and that's an additional factor to take into account. So you take into account lane strength and volatility, and then obviously you take into account enemy jungle pathing if you do know where they pathed to determine that stuff. But generally speaking, those are kind of the biggest things that you keep in mind, are those two factors that we mentioned. And of course, again, the game is more complicated than this. I'm just describing to you guys some of the main things that allowed me to climb, basically. But yeah, that's going to be really all for jungle. Then going into mid lane, so we played Syndra pretty much always, some Orianna, but mostly Syndra. Simple thing with mid lane is punish the last hits. When the enemy walk up to last hit a minion, since they're usually ranged champions, or at least very often, just use your abilities or use your auto attacks or use whatever to punish them. When the enemy minion is low, you know they're going to go walk up to it, so instead of letting them get it for free, you make them fight for every last hit. That's really like the gist of laning in mid lane. Always push before you roam as well. Like before you roam in mid lane, you should be pushing your wave every single time, pretty much without fail. Very rare cases where this is not the thing that you should do. People roam all the time on full waves, and it's like, okay, great, you got a kill. A kill's worth 300 gold. But you lost 200 gold in mid, you gave the enemy 200 gold from getting the wave, and you probably lost a turret plate or two. So like that is in no way, shape, or form worth it. So just understanding to push your wave before you roam. Side laning is perfectly fine too, as a mid laner. If your teammates are all going and grouping mid lane, go to a side lane, push out the side lane, and then apply the same concept of pushing and roaming from mid into a side lane. Push the side lane, then you can roam and help your team. It's really that simple. Like okay, top lane's pushed, great, now I can go into mid. Mid lane's pushed, great, I can go into top or bot or whatever. Just constantly keeping these lanes pushed and then making plays once the lanes are pushed as a mid laner, rather than fighting when none of the lanes are pushed. So you can side lane, basically. You don't have to just stay in the middle of the time. And then the times where you're going to be kind of more keen on fighting is going to be around objectives. So when a dragon is spawning soon, when a baron is spawning soon, then maybe you don't have to push out the top lane wave right away. Ideally, you still do, but if you don't, it's not as big of a deal. But apart from that, you're mostly valuing, again, the waves. Mid lane really is based around the waves. If the wave is pushed, then you can do whatever you want. You have agency to make plays, all of that, and then understanding the punishing the last hits in lane. That's really what was allowing me to climb in mid lane. Then for ADC, we played basically only Corki and Xayah. I'd lock in Corki whenever I just needed to blind pick or I needed a consistent safe champion. I would lock in Xayah whenever they locked in a lot of engage and dive champions, or when I had attack speed focused champions. So what I mean by an attack speed focused champion is actually, I mean a support that helps attack speed focused champions. So like Lulu helps attack speed focused champions because she does a percentage increase on their attack speed. Braum wants attack speed to proc his passive, so when I needed attack speed basically, or when they had a lot of dive, I lock in Xayah. Otherwise we play Corki. Prio is everything in ADC and support in dual lane in general. You need Prio. Push the wave as soon as you get there. Be on the wave before the enemy. Make sure you're getting that lane pushed, because if you get that lane pushed and you have the level advantage, you have the wave pushing, that is all that you need. You're a ranged champion, so you don't have to worry as much about wave management to the same degree that you do in top lane. So just make sure you're focusing on getting Prio pretty much always. Also, you're going to see the enemy base go to 1 HP, and it's going to make me sad, as you see here. But yeah, Prio is everything. Spell tracking when it comes to team fighting, so make sure you keep track of the dangerous spells of the enemy. If you're playing Xayah and you know that Vi has ultimate, well then save your ultimate for the Vi ult. Or if you know that you're going to get stunned by a Twisted Fate gold card, save your cleanse, etc. Just make sure that you understand these things. As long as you're keeping your spells, your key spells for the enemy key spells, or you're waiting until the enemy uses, like say a Zed ult, say you have nothing to respond to a Zed ult, wait until the Zed ult's someone else, then you go forward, you start to auto attack. If you keep track of these key spells and CC abilities and burst damage spells, you're going to be very, very good when it comes to playing ADC in team fights. And then again, similar to mid lane, once you push a wave, go do something else. So I pushed my wave, now I want to go farm mid wave. I push mid wave, I'm going to go farm top wave. I push top wave, okay, now I can take some of my teammates' jungle camps later on in the game. Just constantly focus around gold, same way you would in mid lane, and then only really value the team fighting during those objectives in the same way. And then lastly, we're going to go on to support. So again, we just mostly played Thresh for support because I like Thresh. Sue me. But yeah, Prio is everything again for support. As an engaged support, level 2 is everything. So if you're a dual lane player and you don't know which minion gives you level 2, then you're a stupid, dumb idiot and I hate you. So yeah, basically the 5th minion that you kill will get you level 2, aka the first minion of the 2nd minion wave. So this is really important to understand, because if we push the first wave right away as a Thresh, or as really any engaged support, even a non-engaged support does this for the most part, then we're often going to quickly go and roam and ward their blue buff if we have time, or ward their Krugs if we're on the other side of the map. We're going to get a ward off if we can after pushing the first wave. Then we make sure we get on the wave before it reaches our lane, and we immediately start hitting it. As soon as we are ready to kill the first minion of the 2nd minion wave, we're often going to flash forward and CC the enemy if they're still level 1, and we're just going to really hard play around the level diff. So playing around your level diff is absolutely crucial, and understanding which level or which minion gets you level 2. If you understand that in lane, you're probably going to be chilling. Again, make sure you ward in ADC and support after the first wave. Don't ward before the first wave. Don't ward that random bush in lane. Ward after the first wave. It allows you to get a better ward. So if you push the wave and you have Prio, you can go and ward a jungle camp. If you don't have Prio, then you ward the river, or you ward whatever is convenient at that point, because you just need some type of vision. Then for roaming. So for roaming as a support, make sure you understand who or how strong and how likely it is for the enemy to actually dive. So for example, if I'm against a Draven and a Thresh and I roam as a Nautilus or something, or even as a Yuumi or whatever champion you're playing, I don't care, you're trolling, because then Draven is going to dive with the Thresh. He's going to dive your ADC. You're going to give Draven, free gold. He's going to get his passive, and he's going to snowball the game. But if it's a Vayne and a Yuumi, and you know you can't do anything in lane, and you roam, well, that's great. Like, Vayne and Yuumi aren't going to go solo dive your ADC for the most part. You're a lot more likely to, for them to be fine. And also understanding your ADC's, role in this. So, for example, Ezreal's really hard to dive. He has long range, and he has good mobility. Whereas a champion like Draven is a bit easier to dive. He does a lot of damage, but I would say Vayne especially is a lot easier to dive. These types of champions, just because they have more, less mobility, less early game damage, all that type of stuff. Or Varus is a good example of a champion who's easy to dive. So understanding how likely it is for your teammate to get dove as well. I know the game ended here. We're almost done, so I'll just kind of go through the last little things. Then the main thing after the roaming is, like, obviously roam towards your stronger laner. So as a support, you definitely want to play around your stronger laner past the lane phase. So after lane phase, if your jungle's fed, go follow your jungle around for the most part. If your ADC is fed, stay with him, etc. Just kind of understand who's actually strong and who's weak, and kind of play more around them. And then just make sure you're on the objectives first. So make sure we're setting up vision 30 seconds to 45 seconds before the objective spawns. At the end of the day, those are kind of the main things for support. And I just wanted to share with you guys a lot of the main tips. I know this was a lot. That's kind of the point of my videos, is just give you guys a bunch of information. You do with it whatever you want. Because again, I'll just spit out as much information and hope you guys can learn from it. Don't necessarily try to remember everything I just said in this video. Just figure out the key things for whatever role maybe you play. But I'm going to make a lot more videos. If you have video ideas do you want me to do now that I've hit Sovereign in every role solo queue, if you want any tip videos in general, just let me know what you want. I definitely plan on putting more effort into my videos and trying to make them better, hopefully, throughout next season and everything, making good content around next season, how to climb, all those types of things. Again, 5 role Sovereign, all solo queue. If you guys don't know, I've also been rank 1. Last season I got rank 1 playing only solo queue as well, but I was playing mid and jungle during that time. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was valuable to you in some way. I would really appreciate if you did like or anything, because I put a lot of effort into this. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.